Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarLimited.com Deep Dive presented by EnTrust IT Solutions. Joining us on this week's show is new Eldora Speedway GM, Levi Jones. Before we get to Jones, don't forget to check out EnTrust IT Solutions. EnTrust is a full-service technology company serving small and mid-sized businesses in New York, Pennsylvania, and surrounding areas. The staff at EnTrust IT Solutions takes a personalized approach to technology. See why customers are choosing EnTrust IT Solutions as their technology partner by scheduling a free consultation at www.entrust-msp.com or by calling 717-292-8868. Now here's Levi. Levi, welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
No problem. We're going to jump in. Obviously you haven't raced in a while. So you had an interesting driving career, and then it just continues all the way up till now. You've been to different places. So just want to kind of touch on all that. And I think to start, you're from Illinois. You started racing, obviously, at a young age. Was it something that was just in your family, or was it just something? How did that start where you ended up in a race car?
I just fell in love with racing when I was young. A lot of my family and friends from Olney would go to Tri-State Speedway in Hobstadt, Indiana, Sunday nights where sprint cars and late models. Once I saw that, I was hooked, right? So if my parents weren't going when I was young, I'd make my mom call around, ask people if they were going, could I tag along? I'm sure wore out my welcome a lot along the way, but that was 35 years ago now, and like the joke is, my mom's still waiting for me to outgrow this racing thing.
You're committed now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was great, right? As a child, I had, my dad and a couple of my uncles drag race and had karts, and I finally talked them into letting me drive a kart. Eventually I can vivid memories of having to watch them, and I couldn't race, and I had one at home, and just that need for speed and engines. And even in high school, working on sprint cars at my house, my buddies would always stop by there and trying to get me to go with them. But they wanted to hang out with me. It was probably in the garage while I was working on my car, and played a little ball in the winter. Outgrew that, and really got to chase my dreams, do it professionally, all through my 20s. And the opportunity to win USAC races and championships was something that I didn't know would ever happen, and I was able to do that. And stopped, got married, and had kids, and was working. And I'm fortunate enough to have been there and done that, and won races and won the championship. The biggest thing, I didn't have anything to prove to myself. I was good where I was at. Appreciated the opportunities I had, enjoyed the time on the track and the wins I did get. So, went to work, went back to USAC, work there to try to make it, better for all the guys doing the same things that I was doing when I was young. So then opportunity to come to, go from there to IndyCar for 3 years. And now back here at, Eldora Speedway, working with an old boss, with Tony and Brett. I've got a pass there with being at TSR for 7 years or so. So all good, really excited. It's big for our family. My dad's super excited. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Nothing's easy, but the passion and desire I have for dirt track racing, coupled with all the people that are already on staff here at Eldora, the history and everything with this track, you add that with the passion the fans have, what better scenario?
You mentioned, some drag racing, and what made you go, say, to ovals and dirt over some of the drag stuff?
I just, watching sprint cars and late models on at Hobstadt as a kid, and then, venturing out and going to DuQuoin and Springfield as a kid. It just, that sound and the roar and the excitement was, there's nothing like it.
So you actually went to USAC rather early. How old were you when you first started running USAC?
Yeah, I actually ran my first USAC race at Red Hill Raceway. So right there, a new track that they built, in the mid '90s. That first USAC race was 1998. I know I didn't need to be there, but it was a race close to home, and I was young, and you had to be, if you weren't 18, you had to be partially emancipated. We didn't even know that. So it was like the week of, and one of the advantages of growing up in a small town, my parents both graduated high school the same year with the judge and the attorney. So, Johnny Caples got us the paperwork and actually came to the race because he had to meet someone that could get it done that fast.
So you had to get emancipated for your parents to even race USAC?
Yeah, that's how it was for a long time. If you weren't 18, you had to be 16. If you weren't 18, you had to go through a partial emancipation process.
Wow.
So yeah, that was part of the journey.
Now, I mean, owners probably wish that was the case because parents get in the way sometimes. Um, what was that experience like when you first started out there? And I mean, you're running against guys you grew up watching. I mean, that had to be pretty nerve wracking. And then you become one of those guys.
Yeah, no, looking back at it now, right? To go in there as a kid and race against Tony Elliott and Dave Darlin and Kevin Thomas and Kevin Briscoe and Jack Hewitt, all those guys like that. I mean, I was in awe of those guys, and I really, we had one car, we didn't have a bunch of spare parts, and if I knew how much every part costs on the car from a high school kid on, right? So it wasn't like, hey, dad, roll another one out. We weren't in that situation. So I really had to learn how to race. So a lot of people joke I was a 10-year overnight success story when I went to drive for Scott Bennick. But but learning to race, Tim Engler was huge in my career. Only about 40 minutes from where I was at, so I kind of was a shop rat there. Just tried to be a sponge and learn everything I could about sprint car racing. And one evening with I think the Outlaws were in town, and Andy Hillenberg was there for the week at Tim's. And one night in the shop, I was just, kind of talking to them guys, trying to soak it all in. And I remember Andy saying, if you want to be a good race car driver, you got to race against the best guys, as many different tracks as you can go to. So from that point on, we just tried to go where the best guys were, the best races. And that really parlayed into getting an opportunity to drive Jeff Walker's car one night at Hobstadt when Tony Elliott wasn't there, and then running for him with my dad's engine. And kind of from there it just took off, and was able to make a career of it.
How important was it to get that one night ride in a car like that? I think sometimes we see it often nowadays. Guys just don't maybe get that opportunity. They're in maybe lesser equipment, or they don't get the call up to run an established deal. How important was that one night for you? Just kind of to maybe turn some heads.
It was huge. It was huge. I mean, my dad and I followed Jeff and Tony around for a couple years, right? Where whatever hotels they were staying at, or where to go. We didn't even know where the tracks were at. So my um, so doing that, following along. And then we'd actually sold all of our stuff basically, but had still had a pavement sprint car and one engine. And then that night, when it wasn't a USAC race, it was just a race at Hobstadt, and Tony and Cindy lived in Warsaw, and I think we'd been at North Vernon and Putnamville the 2 nights before. And they were Hobstadt to North Vernon's a haul, right? 6 or 7 hours, and it probably didn't pay that much then. So um, I'd actually, I think I was just out of high school, so I was trying to figure out what I should do. Should I go to school? Should I keep racing? And I'd signed up to drive another guy's car, and I think we blew up the first night, and the steering gear broke the night before, and we couldn't go to Hobstadt. And like I said before, I grew up, I wanted to be there, and I didn't have a cell phone then, right? Jeff calls my parents' house and said, early in the morning, says, hey, we tore some stuff up last night, but I don't think Tony can go. Would you drive it? So first, I think he's joking with me, right? Like, okay, we're gonna see if we can get it fixed, but then I'll call you back. So he calls me back a couple hours later, says, yeah, let's do it. We'll be there. So, I'm at the track waiting, drivers meeting. They're still not there. So I finally see their rig go by, and they come in, and I think we won the heat, won the dash, and had a spirited battle with Eric Shively, and I came up on the short end of the stick. But after that, Jeff put a deal together for us to run the second car, and those are some of my best memories of racing, and really helped launch my career.
So you obviously hook up with a couple other owners, then you end up at TSR. Okay, and first off, what's it like driving for Tony Stewart?
I mean, it's the best situation you can be in, right? I mean, everybody at TSR knows what it takes. Tony knows what it takes to win. You put yourself in a great situation to not only deal with just racing, but deal with all the partners and the people involved and what makes it all work. So, I was able to beat Tony's team for the championship before he hired me. So I was in a really good situation there. We won a ton of races. Really solidified myself as a top driver in the sport. Tony hires me. I get to run the sprint car and the dirt champ car and the midget, and go on a 7-year run where we won six more championships. So it was definitely a blast.
You win those championships, and I think sometime in your 30s, you decide to hang up your helmet.
Yeah, I did. So in 2010 and 11, I won the sprint car and the Silver Crown championships both. Crew was born at the end of 10. Winston was born in the middle of 12. I had neck surgery at the end of 12. And it was kind of like, was leading the points then or close, and didn't happen. It's kind of just reevaluated, where I was at in my life. And, I was 32, and I'd always joked when I was younger that I wasn't going to race after I was 30. So I went a little longer than I planned, but, but it was, I came back in 13 and ran a few races, won the Hoosier 100. Thought, you know what, I'm good. I've proved it to myself. I don't have anything else to prove to myself. I don't want to be just going to race to try to make money. I don't want to do it just to make a paycheck. So decided that I didn't need to drive anymore, and I don't regret that decision at all. It's been great for me. It's not the same for everyone, but it's worked out great for me.
Obviously family is part of that, but is some of it too, hey, I'm relatively healthy. You had the neck deal. Was it, I don't want to end up not being able to walk in years down the road with all the wear and tear on your body? Was that a big part of it as well?
I mean, it is, right? Racing's hard on your body. There's no doubt about it. Guys that have done it a lot longer than me and still doing it, they're tough dudes, man, right? I mean, I can sit here and say they're probably tougher than me. I think back to when I was in my early 20s and doing it. I always say it didn't matter. It didn't matter where I was at tomorrow morning. Back then, like, it was all about that from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. that night. I was going to leave it all on the track. I always, folded my clothes up, put them all in a pile, and because really it didn't matter. It didn't matter. That time span that night, that race is all that mattered. And then as more things in your life come up, you don't race any different, but you are thinking about, what you have to do tomorrow. What's in the planner? What do you have to do? So those are the things that change. The way you race, the way you think about it, they don't change at all. I mean, if just if I was racing tomorrow, right, I could get my mind right back into that, where you need to be and what you need to do. But there's still stuff in the day planner for the next day that you have to worry about.
You got civilized.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like a boxer, when you're coming up through, you're grinding it out in a smelly gym. And then when you win the title, things get it, you kind of upscale a little bit.
And even when I talk to young kids now, right? I mean, racing, I don't I don't tell them any way different to do it. I say, if you want to do it and you want to win, you got to be willing to you got to be willing to chew the roll cage off. I mean, you got to be willing to go get it right now. And if you're not willing to do that when you're young like that, you're never going to be willing to do it.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you don't regret your decision. Was there a point, in the year or two after you ran your last race that you were like, I miss it, even though you were okay with your decision? Did you miss being in the car? Did you miss, that competitiveness?
People ask me that a lot, right? And I, in a way, I like, you kind of feel bad saying no, I don't miss it. Well, you do miss that winning feeling. No different than a guy that played football and he stops, or a guy that does something else. You miss that. That feeling of winning is good, right? Winning fixes everything. So you, you don't, or me, I didn't miss the other 6.5 days of what it takes, what you got to put in. When I raced, when I did it, I had to give it 100%, or it didn't translate to the track, right? If I go about it half-ass, you're gonna get half-ass results. So, um, talking to young kids now, if you want to do it, you've got to go all out. You got to do it 100%. I've seen it this year, right? Even working in IndyCar with the Indy Next program last 2 years, the guys that win the championship, they're getting after it, right? They're all in. That's what you have to do.
So you end up going into USAC as from the official standpoint, managerial standpoint. Was that a tough transition? Because, it can be looked at a couple different ways. The guys know you, they respect you, obviously, as a competitor. Did any of that change, and how difficult was it to transition into that role with USAC?
It wasn't that difficult for me. I think the advantage for me was after I stopped driving, right? I had a few years where I wasn't in the grind every day. I was working in a retail business dealing with the public and people. Um, so that part of it, and then going to work on the USAC side, I always kind of look at it as three sides, right? You have to look at it as the drivers and teams, the fans, and the promoters. So, the best case scenario is when it's equally good for all three of those pieces of the pie. That's what I always tried to look at it, right? I mean, if you're looking at somewhere to race, or how a race needs to be, or going to this facility, right? How does that weigh on those three pieces?
Did you kind of have a bigger appreciation for, some of the executive official stuff behind the scenes at USAC that maybe when you were a competitor you didn't think of? Was there kind of a wow, I didn't know it was this in detail?
When I was racing, I even thinking back, and I would bring it up sometimes with the guys. I was like, I never really was at the USAC trailer, right? I knew how it was going to go. I can only control the things I can control. If I can control those variables, it'll probably be okay. And if I focus on stuff that's out of my control, you're just you're just spinning your wheels anyway. So, there are a lot of different aspects that, and I see their point, right? If it's one person and how they view something and what they think of it, I respect that opinion, but they might not know the other 10 factors that go into that. And so that's that's the biggest part of it, probably, is just thinking or seeing what people may think or their perception of it, and then not being able to totally explain the many other factors that go into what or why.
Colton Gauss, who you know well, uh, we've talked about you before, and you're a laid back guy. You're pretty. Did you ever have to yell? I mean, it seems like
I'm pretty good till I get pushed that past that point. So there's there I can vividly remember Bruce Bromley laughing one night or something after the races, and he goes, I thought you were the most laid back guy ever till I saw you turn into Incredible Hulk and rip the door off the tow truck. So it
okay.
does, I'm pretty easygoing and take it all in, and will listen to you until it gets to a certain point.
Is that important when you're in an official role like that? Because you're dealing with so many different personalities. I mean, you have Robert Ballou out there, for crying out loud. you have, you have so many different guys and they all have different personalities that come from different backgrounds. Do you think that kind of helps you be able to kind of manage the whole thing when you're dealing with a situation because you are willing to listen? And do you have to be more laid back in a position like that?
Well, I always, and I tell my kids today, the key to about any situation is staying calm, no matter what it is, right? When it's happening, you have to stay calm and be able to, whether you're boxing or racing or dealing with something at school or work, right? The key is to stay calm so you can make the best decisions. And I always try to stay calm and take it all in to decide, hey, and listen what's being said and make the best decision of it, because it's everybody wants to make the decision until they're in a position to make the decision.
That's true. It's easier to just walk away and not be a part of the decision. So you end up going to IndyCar next. What made you transition to that? You always loved dirt. You always enjoyed the sprint car side of it. It's what you grew up on. It's what you raced. And then you were with USAC. What pulled you to the IndyCar series?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, because when you look at my opportunity that was presented to go work at IndyCar with Penske Corp. All of the things that Roger Penske and his team have done over the years. I told my wife last week. I said, when I look at a little over 3 years at IndyCar, it's almost like the grad school that I never went to. So many great people that have been around and done huge things in the sport to soak all of that in and be around, like you said, a different type of racing, kind of broaden my horizons, learn more ways to do things, is just more knowledge for me in what I'm doing now here at Eldora.
What exactly was your job with the next series?
So I was in charge of the whole Indy Next program. So I used all of the NTT IndyCar Series staff, from race director, timing and scoring, the engineering part, working with Delara and Firestone there. It was just myself and my coordinator Shelby Harris that worked with all the same staff that does the IndyCar races. So I kind of use the term keep the circus going, right? Deal with all the team managers and owners. Work very close with Firestone and Delara. With all of, unlike late model and sprint car racing and what we're doing now, that all the cars are spec cars and parts, and just making sure we're the series is where it needed to be at competition level, working with the tracks and facilitating all the testing off season and in season. So just working closely with the teams and the competitors on that side.
Roger Penske is one of the most powerful guys in motorsports history. What was it like being a part of that organization? I know everything is detailed. I know everything is, buttoned up, but take me behind the scenes a little bit and our audience. What is it like working for Roger Penske?
I mean, the pride he has in anything that has his name on it is very evident, right? If it's Penske perfect, right? You make sure that it looks and feels and is how it should be, and if it's not, we're going to work towards getting it there.
And you said it was like grad school for you. What do you mean by that?
Just the processes in place, and how things are handled, and looking at situations, and having a team of people to attack different projects and stuff that comes up, and being able to navigate those problems or issues, and yeah, really all of that together, from looking at the business standpoint of it to the entertainment value standpoint of it, how all that intersects, and making it work. And just like I said before, right, we see it, not everybody that is part of it has the same opinion. So being able to work through those and share some of that, of why we're doing it or how we're doing it, or what it is, is some of those details I'll carry with me forever.
3.5 years there, or 3 years there, whatever it was. Then now you move on into a different role. You're the general manager of Eldora Speedway. And first off, did you seek out that job, or did you get a call from Jared or Tony or both?
So, I've raced for Tony before, so worked with Tony and Brett many years ago, and have stayed in touch with those guys. And my wife makes fun of me. She's like, I watch every sprint car race and late model race, and at night when at all the IndyCar races, and we're done at 5:30, and you go eat. So now you've got a chance to watch everything on streaming services. But um, over the past, working close with Roger Slack when I was at USAC, and then working with Jerry when he was at Gas City. I actually saw Jerry over the winters every weekend. His wife's grandson lived in Plainfield, and they would come down to watch the basketball. So still talking about it and doing it. And I love it, right? It's a passion. So, when things, obviously losing Jerry in May, and then, over the course of the rest of the year, I finally said, yeah, what does that job look like?
So you did get it, obviously. You're the new GM. And do you think, to me, Eldora, being the GM of Eldora Speedway is definitely one of the premier, I would say, pressure jobs, and also probably high-end general manager jobs in the country when it comes to dirt track racing. Just the number of big events you have, staff, facility, so on and so forth. Do you think being at IndyCar prepared you for this next step, or do you believe, and I know this is tricky, could have moved from USAC into that job, or did you need that IndyCar job kind of to maybe season you a little bit, maybe show you some different things?
I feel 100% that I'm better prepared now than I would have been 3 years ago. Um, you know, do I feel like I could have navigated it without having that IndyCar experience? Yeah, I think so. But just having a different perspective and being part of a different type of racing, for that part where you're dealing with partners and people and big events, and all of those things, I think are only an advantage to what I'm coming back to here. I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you said you look at the Eldora Speedway schedule with the big events and everything that goes on here, right? I mean, it was, my youngest son is not that into racing, right? He'll find something else to do when the rest of us are going to a race over the last few years. But he was able to come to the World 100 last weekend, and he was kind of like, okay, this is a little different than what I thought. So when you see that, what's going on here, that only adds to the excitement for me and my family.
You're not exactly easing into this. You were at Nashville last week, and you get thrown right into the 4 Crown Nationals. Now, I'm sure a lot of things were in place beforehand. The staff at Eldora does a good job, but still, it's not like you're going into just a regular late model modified race. You're going into 4 Crown. It's USAC, your old stomping grounds, and you have the high limit series there as well. Nervous a little bit, and how have you kind of approached this week, just being fresh out of IndyCar?
I think I said it before, right? The key is to stay calm. There's going to be stuff that comes up this weekend, whether it's on the fan-facing side, the camping side, or the competitor side. I've just got to keep an open mind, keep my notebook with me. Try to see what we can do to always make it a little bit better. The incredible staff here, they're prepared, right? I've been here since yesterday. Getting everything ready, huge new projects here. The Earl's old house is now the offices that are redone. It's beautiful. The ballroom facility will be open here soon. So there's just, a ton of cool things, and jumping right in the fire. I know a lot of my coworkers last week from IndyCar, they're all on vacation and going on trips and stuff this week. My dad helped me load a couple trailers up with my stuff to start bringing things over here, and we're right into the race this weekend.
The ballroom. I know, talking to you earlier, you said there, construction at the ballroom. What's going on there? What are some of the changes that are being made or in the works there?
Oh, the ballroom is going to be a full event center. So during the race events, it'll be a full kitchen and a bar space, all redone. I mean, totally revamped, really cool. All the original hardwood floors, the drop ceilings gone, the original woodwork, the dome ceilings in there. So that's something that'll be really exciting as we get into 2025. Um, so that project's big. Just and then as we finish out these last couple events of the year, we'll get in the off season and look at what we need to do around the facility.
Tony's one of those guys, at least with GMs I've talked to in the past. He kind of leaves you guys alone to he doesn't micromanage, in other words. Um, is that a style you think you're going to embrace, that, because you are new at this? Granted, you were with USAC, but the promotion of a track, the GM duties of a track, do you kind of embrace that, hey, he's going to let you alone as much as he can and let you do what you need to do to make the facility or continue the facility's success?
Yeah, them having the trust in me to manage it and do what needs to be done. I kind of view that as treating it like it's my own, right? So looking at projects and how we navigate the business side of it, first and foremost, it is a business, so we have to make sense of it all, and then being able to lean on Tony and Brett when we do make decisions and moving forward. Those are two guys that I fully trust in.
And that being said, do you want to be careful not to change too much there to put
Oh
your
yeah,
stamp on it?
yeah. I mean, that's you look at, I raced here. I raced here just before Tony bought it, and then after he did, and what all has been done. Some of the fans don't even see the safety aspect of it. If you go to 100 dirt tracks, go to 100 different dirt tracks and you look at what Eldora's been able to do safety wise, that's what every other facility hopes to or wishes they could do, but not everybody can. So you look at the events and what they pay and the magnitude and the exposure you get from being here and winning here at Eldora to the entertainment value. Um, there's just, the sky's the limit. This facility of just continuing to look into those things that bring people to buy a ticket and watch the race here.
And do you feel, are you nervous about it?
I mean, not nervous, right? Nervous is like not the word I'd use. Anticipation, right? The anticipation of being here and having an event and people coming here, they all want to be here, right? The people that come here, they're not just driving by because they're in the area. They're coming here for a reason. This weekend camping looks to be up, right? The phone's been ringing here today. So that all looks good, but you look at the facility and the events of what, the guys before me that have been here and what they've done and put in place, right? It's a machine, right? It's in motion. It's going. People like it. The beer's cheap, the food's good, the racing's awesome. So, that's all happening. If we can just keep it to where people want to come here. I don't need to put Levi Jones's stamp on here. I don't need to recreate the wheel. I don't need to come up with, some harebrained idea to change something just to change it, right? We dive in to look at things where we need to improve, or even things that work on accident. Let's just make sure we know why or how, and look at little things that we can do to keep making it better. And like I've told the staff here already, that I'm here to help lead each one of these people in every area, right? You have 7 or 8 different areas. If your area needs something, you communicate, right? The communication between me and the staff and and fans and teams. That's how we're going to make it better, or keep things that are really good, how we're going to keep them really good.
Do you think it helps that you're a former driver? There's not a ton of GMs out there who have honestly been on so many sides of the fence as you have. Do you think it helps that you're a former competitor and you've seen it from the guy coming up through who didn't have a lot to the guy who won titles?
I think so. I mean, I don't think it hurts at all, right? I mean, looking at it, things I've been through, certain things that people deal with the track, that or certain things that the drivers deal with, someone else that might not even be on their radar. So those little things I can definitely help with, but it doesn't hurt, I don't think.
And now you'll be dealing with more competitors because not only do you have USAC guys coming in, you have the World of Outlaws, you have High Limit and that whole thing, which you know what that's like. But and then you're going to have late model guys. You're going to be dealing with a wide swath of competitors. Is that something you're looking forward to, dealing with, quite honestly, more personalities than you've probably dealt with all the years combined?
I've talked to quite a few of them already. But the thing about racing and dirt racing and Eldora Speedway is, we host all of them here, right? You want to be at Eldora, you want to win at Eldora. The stage here is incredible. So no matter what brand or color or distinction you're racing with or for, to be at Eldora and to win at Eldora is first and foremost.
The sport is, I mean, there's more exposure to sprint car racing, which I'm sure you've kept an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
Assess maybe a couple things. Assess where USAC is, because you have some guys leaving for the wing ranks, and obviously that hurts USAC a little bit when you lose stars like a Chris Windham, a Tyler Courtney. But the sport as a whole, if you could assess where it's at right now with streaming, and obviously Eldora is just killing it as far as crowd size. If you could assess those two for me, what are your thoughts on those two components?
Yeah, for me to be kind of away from it for a few years, looking at it all the way down, right, from NASCAR, IndyCar to local dirt race, right? The competitors all want a bigger purse, bigger piece of the pie. It doesn't matter where you're at. That's what they all want. But there's still a ceiling, because it still takes people to come to the races, to buy a ticket, to watch it on whatever they're watching it on. So that all works together. But I will say that it's better now than it's ever been for everyone, right? The racers and the teams, it's still better than it was when I was doing it, or when Steve Kinzer was doing it. It is right now. Where that balance is, we'll continue to work on it. But we still have a lot of people that want to do it, that want to race. And I know the numbers. I know the numbers of what it costs to race, IndyCar the last 3 years. You're looking at return on investment and what it costs to do it. It's still, racing still costs a lot of money. It has to come from somewhere, and that's not the easy part. But there's still always, it seems like in racing, there's always still someone that's willing to spend more money than someone else. So if you do that, you're probably going to have newer stuff, or replace stuff more often, or a bigger truck or a bigger trailer. So if he's got it, you want it, right? So it's you. I know last weekend, looking down at the pit area here, that whole front row of late model haulers is impressive, right? That's what my boy wanted to go and look at, were the trucks and trailers. So those are beautiful pieces, and I know it costs a lot of money to have those, to keep those up, to keep them going up and down the road, and keep the circus on the road. I get it, right? I would just looking at it this morning of what we have to have checks ready for high limit and USAC when we're done on Saturday night here. It's a lot of money all the way around, every aspect of it.
Are you looking forward to the meetings in the off season? I mean, now that you're a GM, you're going to be dealing with other promoters as well. The whole ecosystem in Ohio and the RPM stuff, and do you look forward to maybe having a bigger voice because you're running Eldora Speedway, a bigger voice in maybe the direction or rules, other things that are involved in sprint car racing? Because again, you have that experience from all facets of the game.
Yeah. I look forward to being a part of those discussions with everyone, right? Not talking to someone or, hey, this is how you should do it, but it is a group, right? Talking about it amongst everybody that's involved. You know, there's so many aspects of it that when those conversations start, there's 100 different turns they could take, right? And I don't want anybody that I've never met before that has a track. I don't want them to think, well, I don't care about what they deal with or what they're doing. I just have to worry about Eldora Speedway because it always trickles down, right? If you're a racing team, if trickle down is good, you're going to end up with a good used engine or a good used car. But if the guy at the top got old, wore out stuff and there's no trickle down, the racing is the same way. I think a big part of what we look at here is the risk, right? We're in the risk business. Fans, drivers, what we do, how some of these things work as a whole racing community can benefit everybody that has a racetrack. How we look at the risk side of it, the competition side of it, and ultimately the cost. We know that there's many discussions on all those levels, and big events compared to weekly racing is a huge topic. It has been for a long time. That's something that I'm looking forward to having some open dialogue about as well.
And you mentioned Eldora safety. You watched it on Flow, Dirt Vision, whatever. You've seen the transition as far as safety. Do you feel this sport do you feel it still needs to be safer?
It is racing, right? So it's not, if it was 100% safe, probably if there was no risk and you just had to make sure you had the best car, well, I'd say, okay, I'm going to race this weekend. His car's good. There's no risk. I'll just do it. I'll win. But the safety side, one big thing that I've learned at IndyCar, Dr. Trammell worked on my neck. He's
Yep.
still a contractor there at IndyCar, goes all the oval races. Take Tim Boffman and the IndyCar safety team, incredible, right? Incredible. From when we go to a test, it's non-negotiable. We're bringing these people. This is how we do it. This is the equipment we have. A level 1 trauma center is X miles away. Okay, we need lifeline. No, we can go by ambulance. It's non-negotiable. That's how it is. And it costs money. I get it, but a lot of looking at that and learning how all that works. I told Tim Boffman when I got there, I said, you don't know how good it feels for me not to have to be the one to know how things need to work, how you do that, right? Their whole team, incredible group of people, guys and gals, from the doctors and the medics to the firefighters that go and serve on the safety team. So that is an incredible bar that I know how it works. I have contacts with those guys, and you look at what the staff has been able to do here at Eldora. It's with Premier Health and the partnership there. Yep. Having the infield care center. I remember what it was like before we built the infield care center here, right? So I've made a couple trips to Coldwater, not on purpose, had to go there, but the safety side of it's big, and hopefully we can continue to elevate that side of it. And you talk about the state of the series, different series and stuff. you look at wing versus non-wing, it's still sprint cars. I think it's incredible that Brady Bacon has an opportunity to tie me with championships. Records are made to be broken. The guys that are doing it full time, like that were kind of winning races kind of at the tail end of my career. Their numbers in USAC history are phenomenal. That's a testament to USAC being able to add more races, bigger paying races. Those guys can do it full time. They aren't picking and choosing and going racing here and there. If they're going, it's a USAC race, and so that's big. The wing sprint car world, they're definitely more races right now. You've got two premier series that having really big races. That's brought more people out, and some of those guys that switch, right? Like you look at some of them that had ran USAC before. I understand they've done it for a long time, right? You look at a guy like Chris Windham, he just want to do something different, and that's fine too. The late model world, what they can do and go and race in many different series in different parts of the country all the time is really cool too. So you just have to ride it out a little bit. Stuff always changing and evolving, and but Eldora Speedway will always be here for all of them.
Thankfully, it's one of my favorite. Actually, it is my favorite place to go, even though I'm in central Pennsylvania. It's I always tell people it's 1A and Knoxville 1B, but it's very. I always said this to people. They said, "Why do you like Eldora more?" And I said, "It's intimate. It's the fans are on top of you. It's like being in a fishbowl, or like the Coliseum almost, and then they're just all on top of you, and you just feel everything."
Yeah, when you walk, from the campgrounds or the front entrance, you walk up and you're like on ground level, and you think, oh, then you walk up and it's like, there it is. Like, there it is. And I can remember coming here, to race the first few times, right? And just like, oh man, maybe it rained. Maybe the bottom will be good, right? Maybe I can run. No, I can't. You gotta be on the top. If you want to win, you gotta be higher and harder than anybody else. So yeah.
I just remember walking. It was 1987. I walked in that place for the first time, and I walked through the entrance. And when you said it just is there, that's perfectly. That's how I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just stood there and looked at it, and I would encourage anybody to go there and do that, because when you walk through that gate and it's all there. Now it looked a little different at that time, but you don't really see the difference in banking for if you're a kid walking, from the time I saw it in 87 to when it was changed. It's still impressive, and it's still my favorite facility.
For sure. It's hard to explain that.
Yeah, maybe it was because my dad took me there. I don't know, but I get goosebumps every time I go there. Levi, I know you got a lot to do to prepare for this weekend. I appreciate you coming on the deep dive.
No, thank you for having me on. It's great to talk about a little bit of my past and dive into my future. We're like I said, we're super excited to be here and look forward to being a part of this here with all the fans and the teams and partners, everybody that makes this place happen.
Well, again, good luck this weekend for your first foray into this thing.
Yep, we're ready. Let's no rain for sure. It's dry here in Ohio. So
Well, you already accomplished something that because I'm sure you'll be definitely sweating that out a few times in the rest of your
your
career. So again, thank you for being on the show. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's going to wrap up this edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com deep dive presented by EnTrust IT Solutions. Thank you to Levi Jones for joining the show. We had a lot of good stuff there. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and check out our daily exclusive content at www.sprintcarlimited.com. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Deep Dive.